Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code NEST. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
Hello and welcome to the B&B Show. My name is Brandon Kane, and that guy to my left, that's Seahawks Brendan Nelson, back in the house for the Thursday show here, where we look to preview this upcoming very important Jacksonville Jaguar matchup. It doesn't get any easier, but good to have you in the house, Brendan. How goes it?
It goes all right. I mean, it's been one very stressful week for Seattle-based sports. Up, down, living and dying with every single snap or pitch or whatever. But we are still here and we are still alive.
We are still here and we are still alive, indeed. And partly referencing a little bit of the Rough Mariner game yesterday, where you almost had that game in your hand, almost was ready to roll out and just kind of pulled away from you a little bit. And likewise, Brendan, our Seattle Seahawks over the past couple of years have been a average to good team at times. They've always seemingly been right there on the edge of pushing through to that next level that we're all hoping for and expecting is going to be coming. And then right as they get to that spot, they seem to sometimes just kind of just fall back a little bit, not all the way to the bottom of the barrel a little bit, but just that you seem to, just as you're right at that edge, to feel very similar to you in that kind of way with this game we just saw this last week against the Buccaneers.
Yeah, that is what I came away from this game feeling. After week one, when we lost to the 49ers, one thing that you said on your stream and one thing that you said in your streams after that game was you felt like losing that game was kind of symbolic of the fact that the team was not there yet. They weren't where they needed to be. They weren't on the level of the best teams in the conference. And I think you were right. And I feel like this last game against Tampa Bay, had a similar effect where the team is above average. The team will probably make the playoffs this year just because the schedule is somewhat weak. But I don't think they're a good team yet. I think they're in the same place they've been for quite a while now. And it wouldn't be so frustrating if not for the fact that year after year after year, this team is getting good play from their quarterback. And that's supposed to be the hard part. That's supposed to be the most important element at play here. But for years, over the last decade, I would say, over and over again, this team has high-level quarterback play, and they still can't break through. And the frustrating thing about that is it's not going to last forever. You see teams out there that go years, decades without having that high level of quarterback play. So when they don't break through, it's not that surprising. They don't have the most important player on the team. They haven't figured that out yet. Look at a team like the Browns. They can't figure it out because they can't find their quarterback. And for this team to over and over and over again find better than expected quarterback play and still not be able to break through, it is very frustrating. It feels like it's being wasted to a degree. And I understand that these games are very close. I understand that these games we're losing come down to one or two plays, but it's hard to look at this and say anything other than we're wasting some really good quarterback play and have been for about a decade now.
Yeah, it is an oddity at that. And I think that the Seahawks situation just in general has just kind of got an oddity hanging over it as to just, you do get Sam playing at like the #1 highest rated quarterback in the sport, basically, but yet then now the defense takes the step back. It's just sort of like everybody sort of takes their turn just as you're right there to kick it on into play. And certainly the injuries may, factor in bigly here, but I can't lean on that as much as some others can on this because, as you mentioned, the Niner team or with the Tampa Bay team, these teams were decimated by injuries, and they're the ones going on the road. And so I don't want to belabor the Buccaneer game. I know we both have talked about it on our separate channels. I would like to know from you if you have a guess as to, in your mind, I think the biggest oddity, the biggest strange thing for me coming out of this game, Brendan, was that in Mike McDonald, I thought we were getting in this guy, a guy that's going to stack boxes, simulated pressures, not be blitz heavy, but find himself around middle of the road as far as a blitzer, just enough to keep on offenses honest. And then you came into this game, you're 31st in the NFL in your blitz rate. and then you blitzed at a lesser rate this game than you've blitzed throughout the rest of this year at that 31st level. And you had a couple blitz points in the second half in this game that got home. D'Anthony Bell, Emanwari flushing Baker Mayfield from the pocket to the backside. Where do you come from as far as I get the protectionism thing, but it wasn't working? What was Mike thinking in this game, and where is the flavor gone? Where's the spice from this defense we thought we were going to be getting?
Yeah, I think the only thing that you can say is that he got scared, and I think he is aware of the fact that he got scared, but it is very confusing, right? Because this is what we were trying to get away from. This is exactly the kind of stuff that we were hoping we were done with after Carroll got fired 2 years ago, and to see it come up again. And I understand that he's scared about leaving his third string corners and backup safeties on islands and putting them in places where they're going to be vulnerable, but it's not like they were faring any better with you trying to play base. So I don't get it either. The only thing I think that can really be said is that he was just scared of leaving those guys on islands, and it was the wrong emotion to have. It was the wrong feeling to have. Like, I understand why he got there, but he was wrong to do so, and I hope that he's aware that he was wrong to do so. And looking back at that game, it's hard to not get irritated by it, because this stuff should be relatively predictable. We were down to two healthy edge rushers in this game. Of course, Baker Mayfield is going to destroy you when you can't get any pressure on him. You have to try something. And it did remind me of those Pete Carroll games. It really did. It did remind me of some of those games at the end of the Pete Carroll run. And I don't have a good answer for it. I don't have a good justification for it. All I can say is that he got beat. He got beat pretty badly, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, well, and I do hope that they start to find a little bit of an adjustments with that there, because I know that it's no end all be all that you're going to start going stack boxes or go with a little more blitzes, and that's suddenly going to provide, fruits, and that's going to solve everything. It's just that you're at least doing something a little different. They just didn't seem to do a lot of different things last week, and got very predictable on defense, which against a veteran quarterback like Baker is going to allow him an easier day to then find success, which is just what we saw in the football field. Well, not to belabor that one, did you have any other thoughts coming out of that Buccaneer game that stood out to you?
It kind of bothers me that some of these players that we saw out there defensively on Sunday are as bad as they are. Like, I'm mainly thinking about Nehemiah Pritchett, but there are a couple other players you could apply this label to as well. I'm looking at Nehemiah Pritchett out there, and he doesn't look bad. He looks unplayable. And a lot of people are trying to blow off this loss because, we had our backups out there. We had Nehemiah Pritchett out there. We had this guy out there. Of course we're going to lose. But the thing that I come back to is that Nehemiah Pritchett was a 5th-round pick, and he's been on the team for a year and a half. He should not be that bad. And if he is that bad, he should have been off the team in the offseason. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, if he's this bad, why is he still on the team? And if he's still on the team, why isn't he developing? Remember, he was drafted under McDonald. It's not like this is a Pete Carroll guy who's just hanging around. And that the same goes for some of these other players as well that looked really, really bad out there on Sunday. And I'm looking at Tampa Bay. They've got backups out there too. They've got some third-string corners out there too. They don't look as bad as our guys. So I don't know who to blame on that necessarily, but I'm not okay with things like that. I think that a player like Pritchett that's been here for a year and a half, who was a draft pick, who is somebody that clearly people in this organization liked, should have developed a little bit more by now. So I'm worried about that as well.
Yeah, I think it's a valid concern, because it also speaks to, you think this guy's good enough to rock out there. You're comfortable enough not to make any other corner moves, save for a Shaq Griffin, who may or may not be even able to play at this point based on the fact that he can't even get on the active roster. That you didn't do a little bit more to reinforce the ranks there, considering especially there were maybe still some questions lingering there from Reek Woolen last year and what was going to go on at the other outside corner, because Job wasn't necessarily on lock there on the other side of that. So, finding another room, and with the money you had to spend, we're sitting on $25 million, maybe you could have done it through a draft pick instead of going for one of the other ones. It does kind of stand in your mind a little bit. Are you, I'm finding myself at this point, if this sort of fits to serve as we get to the trade deadline, maybe we win one more game, maybe we lose one more game, I would be still standing at the spot though, even though we have a positive record of saying, I think I'd like to just let this sucker play on out. I know a lot of the fans are getting hot to trot. I'm hearing, I don't understand the Crosby stuff myself. I'm hearing that brought up. I love Crosby. I'd be all over Crosby. Crosby all day, all night, 7 days a week, twice on Sundays. But as well, he's got a gargantuan amount of dead money that the Raiders would have to swallow on up to make that move happen. Where do you stand with this?
Yeah, I mean, Jacksonville just did send Tyson Campbell away and ate a bunch of dead money there, so I guess it's not unheard of. But yeah, that doesn't seem like the Pete Carroll way. It doesn't seem like the Pete Carroll way to send away his best defensive player just because he's having a bad season. Now, maybe Pete Carroll isn't going to be the one to make that decision. Maybe that's going to be Spytek who makes that call, and Spytek maybe feels differently, but I doubt that one's on the table. I haven't thought about Crosby since he signed that extension.
Well, that's the part where it's not just eating dead money, just sign the extension. So they have $7 million in cap space. They have to come up with $35 million. So 35 minus the 7, they've got to come up with then $27 million of cap space just to move him right now by the deadline.
Yeah, I don't see that as a possibility. If you want to get an edge, there are a couple guys out there. I'm not too hot to trot on doing any of that, though. I have concerns. Hendrickson, I think, has spent most of his career with his hand in the dirt. So asking him to play in a 3-4 where he's standing up a lot, I don't know if that's a great idea. And he's old. You might be looking at a guy who only gives you another year or two before he's not able to do it anymore. And he's going to want a lot of money, and that's going to bite into your ability to pay guys next year. Maybe a guy like a Thibodeau makes sense, but that would be a cheap flyer anyway, and he's not really that good. Let's be real here. He's okay. That's different because it wouldn't cost that much. But right now, I'm not sure this team is worth going all in on.
Yeah. By the way, I'm hearing people or see Lethal Lance on this saying that let's get clarity to this if we can, Brendan, because again, I'm hearing a lot of this in the Seahawks fandom. So if I can, let me just share my screen here really quickly so that I can show Lethal Lance, and we can definitely get to the place where we're all on the kind of the same page here with this.
Sure.
1 second, please.
No problem.
Okay, folks. So hopefully showing up here, right? There we go. Okay. So Max Crosby is the very top guy here. Lethal Lance, I think you can hopefully can see this here. I've got over the cap on this, not referencing, pulling this off the back of my butt. This is the new contract that he just signed. So Brendan, please, you're free to let me know if I'm seeing something weird, because again, this is being percolated in the Hawk fan base over about the last 24 hours. This has gained a ton of steam, and I understand that, but then we got to kind of put always the numbers together. So you got a $38 million cap hit, 72 point plup is the negative dead money that they've got to eat. That comes out in the wash that they've got to come up with the $35 million in order to move him. So I don't know where we're kind of going at, because I hear people go mentioning post June 1st. There's no post June 1st into this deal right now. If you make this, there's no way to split the money up. The only way to get this deal done is to have Max essentially give money back, and then Seattle signs him to that same contract extension if you move him, and then you're only then moving him to try to do him a solid because you're not going to be able to build a winner anytime soon. But all that stuff to me is more lending to that happening in the offseason, because players don't give money back. So please, I'm open to you. Let me know on this one where I might be wrong with this, but I feel like I'm kind of on the point with this one, and that's the right point.
Yeah. I that's the way I understand it as well. And again, it's just, I don't think that's the Pete Carroll way. I don't think Pete Carroll's going to be like, hey, let's just gut this team and go 3-14 for the next 2 years. That's not his style. So even if he could, I don't think he would. But yes, you are correct. I don't think that he can, for the reasons you're describing.
Okay, so Conca, on the top right of the chart, you can select post-trade July 1st trade, and changes all of it. You can't do a post-June 1st trade in the middle of an NFL season. If you can, call him Cal, if that's the truth, then reference for me the last trade that happened in season before the trade deadline that utilized a post-July 1st trade. If you can, just even reference it in the chat. I'll go look it up to see if we're wrong on this, because we're trying to get this right. But I've never heard of a post-July 1st trade.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that either. And look, the NFL rules regarding trades are a little bit complicated, so maybe there's something we're not picking up here, but I to my understanding, he just signed the extension before the season, right? So the extension.
Okay, so this is where your confusion's coming into place. The trade for the post, these options here with the trade pre-June 1st, that's into the new league year, Calm Cow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the new league year that goes into. That doesn't affect, you can't go into the next new league year and go, well, we want to count it on for this current league year. So I understand that they put that in there. They're putting that in there for if you have a trade, let's say, that's into the new league year, March 31st or whatever, into the new league year. That's why they've put that component in there, not for before the trade deadline moves. That's not an example of that. So we're not in that place to where you can do that. And again, there's no, just as proof on this, if you can find a trade that you've seen that's utilized the post July 1st trade application to a trade deadline move, I am all ears on it. I'm definitely all open to it, but I just don't quite see that being what's happened here.
Yeah, technically, hasn't the extension not even kicked in because he signed it in the offseason with 1 year left on his deal from before?
Yeah, and as you can see here, as I'm bringing it up, Brendan, the other thing I was looking for on this was the option bonus stuff, where maybe there's option bonuses down the line, but you can see with it that the signing bonuses were all basically up on the front. He's got a heavy amount of the base salary with it, but you gave him new guaranteed money with this, new bonus money with it. You didn't bury it down the line. You didn't put it in voidable years, and so that does then put you in a place where they're kind of stuck at least this year in the contract with it. They can maybe move them after this year. They can find some creative ways to do that then after the league year with it. But I don't see how this can happen with that. And again, I've never heard of using a post June 1st at the trade deadline. That's kind of a new thing for me. On that side of it.
Pete Carroll making mistakes to hurt the Seahawks even after he's gone.
Yep. Well, and it just shows you from Max's standpoint, maybe you want to wait. I know you want your financial security, but maybe you want to wait to make sure that this is going to not take a long period of time. And you're going to just blow out your whole career, kind of waiting for the thing to turn back over a little bit, Mm-hmm. So that's kind of is what it is there with it, but we'll see. Maybe he's willing to, that's where I say, well, maybe he'd be open to like giving money back. Raiders get back a lot back in return for him. He then just gets paid to the next team he goes to. Maybe that would be a creative way to make this happen if there was an outside the box kind of a way, an approach to it. But yeah, it's rare. It's rare that you ever see that type of stuff, Brendan.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I'm thinking about it. Has it ever happened? Like I'm trying to think of a circumstance where it happened and I'm coming up blank.
I think there's like a one or two situations. I'm spacing on which one they're exactly at. To your point, it doesn't happen often. And it's really a player at that point that's, really like, all right, I got to be done with this. So it doesn't happen. There's one I'm trying to think of that I'm spacing on that did do it, but it is very rare. Mm-hmm. Very, very rare.
Yeah, I'm not expecting it.
Based on Chat GPT, Julio Jones Falcons trade in 2021 dead cap was $23 million and turned into, but I need to actually look at it.
Well, we're going to Chat GPT now. Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Chat GPT on that's going to be the best indicator of it. But I think just the fact that we're in 2025 and you're having to kind of pull all the way back to 2021. If this was something that was on the table for teams to utilize, Calm Cow, you'd probably see it being utilized at a lot more of a frequent rate year in and year out as a functionality of these trades. I would offer if it's something that was really on the hook to be played. So as well, I know that I'd have to see the Julio one on that to see which one too with it, but
yeah, GPT had to burn a lot of electricity to find that one, I think. So be careful, man.
Indeed. Well, let's turn it to you're pretty conservative on standing pat then. I mean, from my standpoint, I'm like, if I'm making a move, I want to make a move because I think it's going to turn me into a potential Super Bowl contender. I don't want to turn it into a move that makes me a more solid playoff team. Are you in that same place, generally speaking?
I think I am, unless it's something pretty cheap. Like there were a couple trades this last week that were kind of intriguing that I would have been okay with because the what you had to send back wasn't that good. Like the Ravens sent away Oweh and they didn't get that much back. The Browns sent Newsome away, didn't get that much back. Trades like that, okay, whatever. But if you're talking about giving up, what would it be for Hendrickson? Probably a second round pick.
Day two, at least a day two pick somehow. I don't think a second's going to grab it at this point, but I mean maybe a third, fifth, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I'm I'm not into that. I'm just not really into that. It feels like a little bit of a desperation move at that point, and I think we can I think we can do better just saving our cap space for next year.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. And that's part of this with it too, is I trust him with the team's going here, Brendan. It's not, again, not having the faith in the team. It's more of, I got more of the faith in the team in 2026 than I do in the faith in the team necessarily in 2025. I'm still hopeful for this team. I'm not bailing on this year. It's just that you want to put the eggs in the basket at the right time, or set the stage for the right time, and to roll that $25 million over, to have the full allotment of your draft picks, to clear the dead money off the books. We're sitting with like only $400,000 in dead money right now for next year's cap versus the $70 million that we're sitting on in dead money right now. Just feels like it's more better suited for that to be the point when you hit that injection button. Say nothing of the Niners being one more year removed closer, maybe to that Super Bowl window coming a little bit more closer, and the Rams maybe being without Stafford at that point. So it's like, I put all that combination, Cardinals maybe going to be in a rebuilding stage at that point. Might be the right time for us to strike then versus now.
Yeah. I mean, look, if we get Hendrickson, I'm going to see the upside to it. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to be like, hey, this is a good player. This could help us, but I'm not really advocating for it at this point.
Yeah. Agreed 100%. Well, let's turn this over here to the game that's upcoming here this week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, upstart Jacksonville Jaguars with Mr.
Duval.
Mr. Duval. So we've got a lot harder matchup, I think, that we knew was going to be a tough one coming in, but it's a team that's a very strange one to watch for me, Brendan, because I don't know if you've had a chance to watching the games on the Jaguars this year so far, but it's a team that's very talented. You can see that. It's also a team that sometimes is run or seems to operate with sort of a general air of stupidity to it too at the same point in time. Does that make sense in how I put that?
I feel like I kind of feel like Trevor Lawrence's brain is still a slurry from the concussion he had last year. Yeah. I feel like he's still like, if you pried that thing open, it would just be like a slushie from 7-Eleven or something. He makes so many like very, very strange plays. Like there was a couple weeks ago, I can't remember what game it was. There's like 20 seconds left in the half. Jacksonville has no timeouts. They got the ball at about the 10. And he throws a check down in the middle of the field, and they don't have a timeout. They can't stop it, so they have to spike the ball. They lose almost all the time they have left. They lose it down. It's little things like that I'm noticing with him, because, you know, the talent is out of this world. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence has all the talent in the world, like what you're talking about with the team as a whole. But I noticed so many low IQ plays from him. So I think that's kind of a microcosm of what you're talking about, little things like that, where you would think that as now a veteran quarterback, Trevor Lawrence is a veteran in this league at this point. He's not a second-year player anymore. You would have that thing in your head that goes, I can't throw the ball in the middle of the field on a check down. This needs to go into the end zone. This needs to go to the sideline. This needs to go out the back of the end zones, you know, stuff like that. So I do look at stuff like that, and I see that as kind of emblematic of the whole team.
Yeah, I think it is just something that stands out. I think they've got as many penalties as just about anybody in football. I think as many pre-snap penalties as much as anybody in football. So it's a lot of self-inflicted sometimes wounds with them that are unforced, that they just do to themselves, and you got to be ready to take advantage of it, because they're going to give you that stuff over the game. Part of what allowed the Niners to even just stay in that game against Jacksonville is that they just kind of let them. They got sloppy in the second half after they got up on top of them, and you know, San Francisco was able to kind of almost come back and steal that one a little bit, just about.
Yep. Yeah, and speaking of stealing, they will steal your signals in Duval, so don't let that happen.
Okay, we got you. That was pretty funny to see that they do the Saleh called him out and almost got in a fist fight on the field over it. Though I don't think he wanted any part of Saleh, Brendan. I think I think he did the old like, what? Yeah, you want some of this? He did one of those moves. Hold me back. No, hold me back. Come here, Cano. Hold me back. One of those. But what stands out, I think, is a little bit as well on this matchup for me, beyond just sometimes Jacksonville having some silly stuff that they do a little bit as far as unforced errors. A bit of it for me, too, is a little bit, though, back to how good this matchup sets up to us versus necessarily how bad the matchup sets up. And while there is this sort of stupidity at play with Jacksonville at times and how they roll, there's also some things with them that are set up that aren't. As I look at some of the advanced statistics at this, Brendan, I'm a little worried. One thing that stands out, I guess, is that this is not going to be a team that's going to lean into what we've seen probably the past 3 weeks here with Darnold and company, and where they've had a lot of offensive success is on the stack boxes. Jacksonville is not really a stack box type of defense. They're going to stay up there with the front four and drop their guys into coverage. We'll see how that kind of factors as a big difference than what they've been facing, but it doesn't give you necessarily the things you've been able to feast upon as much, I think, from an offensive perspective to really attack when they're going to stack, when they're going to blitz. We're getting high blitz rates. That's also something that you don't get with this Jacksonville Jaguar team. And then conversely to the offensive side of the ball, Trevor Lawrence gets the ball out of his hands really fast. They pass protect really well. And we've really struggled at times to generate quick pressure. When we get pressure, it tends to take a bit of time to get there. I'm kind of putting some of these factors together, and I'm getting a little bit worried. Would you feel the same way on this one?
Yeah, I think you have to be a little bit worried with this one. I think that there's significantly more talent on that other side this week, especially when you're thinking about all the injuries Seattle currently has. Like, we're going up against a pretty talented receiver core. We may not have Spoon. We may not have Woolen. We may not have Love. We don't know. We may not have DeMarcus Lawrence. We won't have Derek Hall. I can pretty much guarantee that. Like, that's most of your pass defense, honestly. That's the core of your pass defense. And with all those things going on, you're looking at Jacksonville. They're going to be down Bretton Strange, right? That's about it. And look, Bretton Strange has been great for them. He's actually been their best receiver. But I'm looking at that passing game over there that really hasn't been that good so far this year. That's the thing, right? Trevor Lawrence is the 29th ranked QB by rating this year. So they are winning games even with a pretty lackluster passing attack. So what's going to happen when you can't defend the pass and he's finally able to really just play his game? That's, I think, very concerning.
Yeah, it is very concerning, and they're in a bit of a better health situation. I think Trayvon Walker is going to be a game time decision for them, their edge. But they have two really good edges there that they bring in place. And offensively, there's not a ton there that I think puts a ton of fear into you. They got some. I know Brian Thomas is having a tough year in the drops and a little bit of the fear and going over the middle. And Hunter has been a little bit of a mixed bag, though he had a hell of a game last week against the Chiefs. They've got kind of just enough there. It just doesn't feel like this is going to be as much about their skill position players matching up. It's as much to me as about, with what we talked about last week with the Tampa Bay game. What do you have, Mike, in your bag? I look at a Kyle Shanahan, and if he's down a starting quarterback, if he's down multiple wide receivers, if he's down his tight end, his offensive line's not as talented as it's been in recent years, he can still put together a functional offense. And I saw last week that when we were down a couple of guys in our secondary and a couple edge guys, your defense is non-functional. And I think that there's an argument to be made that a little bit of your mettle of a coach is tested by how you are able to sometimes overcome in those situations versus just falling back on going, well, I just don't have the talent out on the field right now. So I throw up my hands. There's nothing I can really do. Is that fair on my part?
I think that it is fair. At the very least, you have to be aware of that going in. Maybe you'd still come out on the side of thinking, I think this team can win, but you're going to be aware of something like that. How can you not be? I think that if you're trying to find a reason to believe Seattle can win this game, I actually think that your best bet is just the situations the teams find themselves in, where you have a Jacksonville team coming in off a short week, having just won a very, very big game against the defending AFC champions, and Seattle coming off the loss. Like, to me, if you're trying to find a reason to pick Seattle to win, that's your best bet. Just the fact that Jacksonville might be kind of in a trap game mindset. Because I think if you stack up roster versus roster, and I'll even go so far as to say coaching staff versus coaching staff, Jacksonville's in a good spot. You can make fun of Liam Cohen all you want. I think he's a genius. I think he's a great offensive mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree. He's shown himself to do a good job. And look, he's getting wherever Lawrence is at, he's getting functional play from Lawrence, where other coaches have struggled to find even this end. I know he's not highly rated, but he's at least getting him to executed at a general level. And one thing that stands out that gave us a problem last week that's going to carry over to this week, and this is you mentioned Liam, this is the part he's going to be watching, because Liam was with Tampa Bay prior. And Tampa Bay with Baker there with Liam were really known for the pre-snap motion in order to give you tells on the defense for post-snap. We're going to keep more, move this guy, move that guy. Oh, you let us know this. Now we know what to go with this to the quarterback. I've told the quarterback, here's your instruction to that. And I've got an answer now to what I've seen from you on defense. So you're literally going to be going up against a very almost exactly like offense to what took you apart last week with those motion designs. And with the fact that Mike didn't hide a whole lot and didn't do a whole lot of extra stuff to try to then, oh, you think you're getting an indicator, but that's not the indicator you're getting. Instead, it felt more like Baker was getting a pre-snap indicator, and that was what the indicator was post-snap. So that's also part that's got me concerned with this challenge of Liam, is that he's got a literal blueprint in front of him of how to attack this defense from just the prior week with the exact same personnel across the board defensively.
Right, exactly. That's the other big thing at play here. Cohen built the offense that Tampa Bay is running right now with, I think, what's his name, Grizzard? Josh Grizzard. Like, he's running Cohen's offense right now. And now we've got to deal with the real deal over in Jacksonville. And let's not forget also, one thing with Tampa Bay is with no Bucky Irving, they couldn't really run the ball. ETN's been amazing so far this year. He's averaging almost 6 yards a carry. He's been awesome. And this is after, I think, most NFL experts kind of left him for dead and thought he was just done. But he's been amazing. So they can balance things out way better than Tampa Bay could.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a resurgence for ETN, as he's been nowhere near this in his career coming into it. I think it also speaks to just a bit of both Cohen, and it speaks to the offensive line, and there's been some quality there and what they've built kind of quietly there, and how it's maybe not the strongest in the league, but it's not a weakness. And I don't think they have a lot of weak links on that offensive line as it sort of stands. And so, they're pretty strong across the board here offensively as far as the challenge that they can go with. Maybe they don't have those stars that you're just, Puka Nacua types that you're just completely worried about, but there's enough there for them to go at this defense. And certainly I would say an equivalency to what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to trot out last week offensively against you at home. So it is going to be a major challenge. Is this a week, Brendan, where defensively you go, dial it up, Mike? What do you got to lose? You know how this is going to play out. You like to that blueprint. You saw the blueprint on playing it to depth, 7 guys to depth, 4-man fronts, can't get the pressure. You tried that against this offense last week, essentially. Do you apply the same mandate this week and say, hey, look, they just blew the details in the coverages. They didn't find guys in zones like I've taught them to do in practice. We don't do that. That's not how we play. It was just a bad week. Or do you dial some stuff up here and take some chances and risks?
I think you have to. If this team is not willing to take some risks this weekend, then I'm going to be very confused about what it is that we have here. Like this is the window. This is the opportunity. And if they don't do it, then I'm going to just assume that they're not capable of doing it for one reason or another. Maybe Mike McDonald has it in his head that it's not even an option for some reason. And this is the second year of McDonald. He's had 2 off seasons now, including 1 full off season, to put together the type of roster that he wants, to get the kind of players that he wishes to have here. And I know we have injuries, but again, you also choose the backups that you have. So if we go out there and just stay in base the whole game, I'm just going to be very confused. So that is where I am as well. You have very, very little to lose. Like, I'm sorry, after that Tampa Bay game where the defense got blown off the field, you don't really have anything to lose.
You don't. And I just kept coming back to, because it stood out to me in the game as I was doing the play-by-play, Brendan, and then really stood out to me when I double-checked the statistics on that, being that you blitzed at a lesser rate in that game than you had blitzed throughout the year, was I mentioned those 2 moments in the second half where when you dial it up, it made Baker uncomfortable, and it worked, and it got home. And why you don't, as a coach, see that? You're struggling on the day, you get an answer on 2 plays, and then you're like, okay, enough of that. Put that back up in the cupboard. We're not going to use that for the rest of the day. I just don't understand. If it doesn't work, if it's getting slaughtered just as much as the regular stuff, then okay, hey, fine, roll with it. But if it does work, then lean into it, maybe just a little bit more. It's a little bit more than the 31st rate in the NFL, maybe. When it comes to the offensive side of the ball, things are looking a little rosier for our Seattle Seahawks. We've got Darnold executing at a really high level. Jackson Smith-Njigba looking like a top 2-3 receiver in this league. We've got Arroyo can't get touches because Barner's just lighting it up over there on the other side of it. This is a Jaguar team that's going to play it a little bit like you do defensively in the respect of we're going to let our front four get the pressure. If they've got Walker and Hines, that's going to be a test with those two out there and coming at you. Armstead can get you the occasional pressure still inside at his elder age. What is the way that you attack a Jaguar team that doesn't give you a lot of tells necessarily about what they're going to do? They play things, they make you earn your way up the field. They're not going to blitz heavily. Is there an adjustment in our strategy this week on how we go at them?
Well, do we know if Greg Newsome's going to play this week for them? Do we know if he's going to be ready to go?
I would imagine that they're going to throw him out there it's hard with the trade just happened here on a Thursday. The other guy, I think Campbell was getting snaps. So you got to, you need the replacement in there. I would imagine they're going to try at least get him some snaps in the game.
Yeah, I wonder if you can attack him a little bit because he just got there. And I know it's a pretty simple defense, but I do wonder if maybe you can take advantage of the fact that they just got this guy. Maybe for 1 week, he'll be a little bit of a weak link on that team. That kind of intrigues me. Yeah,
I could see it. Or get the details of a call wrong. Oh, I thought I was in shallow zone. I was supposed to be back to depth. Oh, I'm supposed to be in cover 3, but I was up a little bit tighter. I misheard the call. I think that there's definitely a potential of that happening with a guy coming along this late into the week. And I would think that they would try to play him at least a little bit here. I'd be probably pretty surprised if they didn't utilize him to some degree there. So maybe kind of pick on him if you got him out there. I guess run the ball is just going to be kind of a thing that we're going to have to kind of probe a little bit week in, week out to see if we've got it against given teams.
Yeah, I'm pretty terrified of Devin Lloyd right now. That guy is turning into everything that I thought he would be coming out of college. So I don't know about running the ball. We'll see.
Yeah, both of us had a blue chip grade on the guy coming out. Loved him a lot, and he is really realizing his upside. And he's just a complete linebacker. He's right there behind Fred Warner as far as how good he's playing, and it's all around as a tackler, in coverage, pick sixes. The guy's just been an absolute just monster back there for them, and he's tough to deal with. It's gonna be a long day at the office trying to get and work our way around through them. So you're probably gonna maintain balance here. You're probably not gonna be able to be pass happy. Last week we were, I think, putting a little bit of a prescription for the Seahawks to go into being a little bit more pass happy. They did do that. Props to them on Kubiak on leaning into that. I think this week's a little bit more back to probably balance in 50-50.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, it's not like Jacksonville's weak against the pass and really good against the run. They don't have Vita Vea, right? They got Eric Armstead, who's fine at this point in his career. He's okay.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to refine your balance. Like, I know that Darnold played really good last week, but let's not forget what the formula for this team is. That's what happened last week was not the formula at all. It worked, but it also partially worked probably because Tampa Bay was missing a bunch of their corners. So be careful.
Yeah. Agreed. You're not going to get the same ease, I don't think, going into the secondary this week. So we go balance. I love that last week, the distribution. Sorry, I want to sneeze here. Ooh. Excuse me. We really found a nice distribution, I thought, too, with part of what I think with Jacksonville you've got to do here is you can't just lean into a JSN day. It's got to be a bit of peppering the ball all over the football field and trying to work your different pass catchers, get your packages for Arroyo mixed in there a little bit, work in the Horton like they have. I really love the way this offense has both found the balance, but also found a little bit of what you'd expect in the West Coast offense, which is that you're distributing. It's not just about getting it to your shooter and let him throw up 30 shots a game, so to speak, as an equivalency, but actually kind of working it. And they've gotten better and better as the Seahawks offense as the years gone along. And I think doing that, especially from the passing attack.
Yeah, and Darnold is a guy who will chuck it to his number one guy and just have faith he'll go get it a lot. So that's a little bit dicey. Like, that is one thing that Darnold has always liked to do.
He is a trust guy. He will throw it in there. And a few of those throws you saw last week, the Derek Young throw down the sideline, the JSN throw over the top. He's a guy that will absolutely, take his shots in there. And he's done such a good job at hitting those throws, making some beautiful throws at that. And wow, what about Jackson Smith just continually taking the top of the defense off every single week? Not just like, well, once every 3 games, he'll run a little, corner route and he gets it. Like every week he's making a big play down the field. It's tremendous. You're going to need it this week too.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it too. I don't know how he does it. He doesn't have that downfield speed. Even Lockett in his prime had more downfield speed than this. I think a lot more. So it is something very special that we're watching here. And I hope we can take advantage of it as the year goes on. But I got to put you on the spot here real quick. I got to ask.
Mhm.
I think you'll understand why I'm asking. But you said you want to see a bunch of different packages in this game. Do you want to see the Jalen Milroe package?
No,
Because
I'm so done with the Jalen Milroe package. There's some things going on right now a little bit with this team, Brendan, that I'm trying to keep my mouth kind of closed about, where I'm like, I love a lot of what this team's doing and I have faith in where this team's going. But at the same point in time, there was a lot of fears I had about this team coming into this year. You know, you could take probably 7 or 8 fears about just their process this offseason. You know, the picks, those picks at the time, the second, third, fourth round picks that you sort of were like, okay, these are going to be as much for the future as they are for the now. You know, the lack of necessarily addressing the offensive line a little bit more. And the Milroe is one of those things where I was worried in the picking of him that, you know, there's going to be a draw here a little bit that, okay, what's our confidence level that 2 years down the line, this guy's going to be our franchise? Well, I'd estimate right now that confidence is probably as low as it's been for Seattle since they drafted him. If the confidence level was up at around here, probably a little bit more down here. Not that's down way here, but it's probably a little bit lessened off of what he's shown you so far because he looks really, really far away. Sam Darnold looks like the guy coming forward. And I say this, Brendan, because my point is that I think that there's a big inherent draw then that if the determination becomes there's less confidence that he can be a franchise quarterback down the road, then there's going to be more of a draw to try to get him on the field now to get something for the draft pick. And that's where I start to have my issues with this, because you're now not being driven to get on the player on the field because it's what's best for the team, but because you're trying to validate the selection or get value back off that selection. And I just don't think that that's the right way to approach this Milroe situation.
Yeah, it's like when the Detroit Pistons kept trying to put Darko Milicic out there on the court after they drafted him number 2 overall ahead of like Carmelo Anthony and Chris Bosh. And I remember when Darko was on the Pistons, like they tried to put him in a game one time and he started bleeding out of his ear all over the court because he had a ear piercing that went bad or something. And it's like, man, this guy can't even stand on the court. Get him out of here. But they kept trying to put him out there. And it's like, no, you've got a perfectly fine team without him. Just get him out of here. Sit him on the bench. Never look at him. So I tend to agree because, you know, I'm looking at these plays. I'm like, what's the upside here? Okay, if Milroe executes a good pitch to Ken Walker on that play, what is Ken Walker going to do? He's going to get like 2 yards, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, what is... It'd be one thing if maybe one of these days you should actually let Milroe throw the ball. So I don't think the defense has any fear he's going to throw the ball. I think they're treating him the same way. You may as well have Ken Walker take the snap directly, or Zach Charbonnet take a direct snap. I think the defense would have the same level of fear of a pass. I think they would be more afraid of JSN throwing the ball in that circumstance than they would Milroe. And JSN's proven he can actually throw the ball a little bit. So unironically.
Yeah, I would be the same way. I don't know. We talked about a couple weeks ago when he comes in there, everybody knows it's a run. So they're just going to condense the box and that's what you saw in that play. He had nowhere to go. Walker had nowhere to go. It's just not working. I understand that there was a theory that this could be something cool, but he's not Lamar Jackson back there. He's not super sudden or really super explosive from 0 to 50. He's more of a, once he gets to 50, he's got a gear to get up to 90. He's got the top end gear that a quarterback doesn't normally have in that side, but he's not necessarily like sudden in that way that I think that they're sort of trying to play him like he is. And it's just not working. And again, you got the number 1 rated quarterback in the sport by Pro Football Focus who's playing out of his mind. Why take snaps off of that? Why remove plays from that guy? He's the one guy on this team right now I don't want to be taking snaps from. As much as anybody else. So hopefully they're putting to bed, but Mike said he's not going to, that they're going to stay with it and just keep banging their head up against things on this, I guess. Hopefully it'll pay off if they do.
Right. And, you know, it doesn't matter what he says. It matters what he does. So maybe he'll say that, but we may not be seeing that play anytime soon. But I don't know, man. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of it to start with, but after seeing it 3 times, I'm very done with it.
Yeah, I wasn't a big guy on it initially when they talked about doing that too as well, because there's just problems that come into place with this. When you've seen teams in the past at the NFL level try to flop out quarterbacks like this, it tends to be wonky. There are situations where there's the Cordell Stewart success stories, and Lamar's a little bit of a success story there with the Ravens when he came along. But there's a lot of other points where you bring these guys out and it just looks like you just the wind's out of the sails of the offense all of a sudden. Everything's thrown off. You could just feel it when Milroe was out there on the field last week. Just put it to bed. If the offense was struggling, if you couldn't find points, it makes much more sense. But that's not where you're landing right now. So let's just roll with what we got and call it a day. Brandon Michael over on your side with a $2 donation says likely COY finalists meet head to head. Hashtag go Hawks. COY.
Yeah, coach of the year.
Coach of the year. Ooh, okay. There we go.
I mean, Cohen's definitely a candidate. McDonald could be. I'm not convinced that he's quite there yet. But let me look at this real quick. Honestly, through 5 games, I'm thinking Steichen has got to be up there.
I agree.
And I'd go with Shanahan because of all those injuries the Niners have had to still be winning games is kind of crazy. I'd put them up there.
Shanahan would be my pick. I think that what he's done with the injury situation they had is nothing short of his best work, probably, and that's saying something. So it's hard for Mike at this point. Quite, I think Mike's going to have to do a little bit more to get it there. But I certainly think Liam's in play. Plenty of coaches have come through there with Trevor Lawrence and not gotten these returns and not gotten a team going that first year there, getting it happen, making it happen. So I think he's got a great chance. I think Mike's got to do a little bit more to get it on in there. But it's early in the season too. You never know on that, Brandon, and that might come down the line. Thanks for the dono. Talt 33, thank you for $5 on Brandon's side. KK, Clint Kubiak needs to be studied. This running back 50-50 is not helping us win. K9 runs 10 runs for 86 yards, and you go away from when he is not. And the Milroe play, whose idea was that?
Yeah, I mean, how much are you going to really get down on your offensive coordinator when you have the 5th best scoring offense in the league? Like, we're averaging almost 30 points a game, and we've had 1 non-offensive touchdown. So I don't know. There are certainly little nitpicks you can have with Kubiak, but overall, I think he's doing a really good job so far. There have been a couple of issues, but to have the 5th offense with this very mediocre at best offensive line, with an okay receiver core, he's not working with a bunch of Pro Bowl talent here. He's working with decent players, good players, some awesome players like JSN. But I think we got to give Kubiak some real credit here for what he's gotten out of the team so far.
Yeah, I think too, Talt, this is if I may hasten to guess on this as to what's driving this, I don't think it's as much of Kubiak's inability to see the hot hand and go with it. I think this is more going back to the plan that was in play to how to approach the running back position this offseason. And part of why you put this plan in play was 2 different things. Number one, you're the only team in the past 10 years that's made back-to-back second-round picks on running backs. That in itself is an indicator you're going to run with 2 different running backs, that there's not just going to be a bell cow. It's just that's going to be the nature of the beast if you take 2 guys in the second round. The second part of this is that it can't be understated. Ken Walker has got a rich injury history. He struggled to stay healthy even through this offseason in OTAs. How many times was he injured in training camp? How many practices did he miss? This is a guy that the team would be stupid at this point not to consider and build into their plan of attack on how to utilize him to protect him and to limit some of his touches, understanding he can't be a 20-touch-a-guy game. It's just not who he is. He doesn't have the body that can sustain it. So I think that this is as much about those 2 factors in play as it is about, ignoring Walker being more, better, more effective as a back. I can understand completely the frustration with it in that one guy's performing so much better than the other on that yard per carry average, especially, but I just do think that this comes down to a little bit of the load balance stuff that they're trying to do with Walker here and being very, very aware of it because they want Walker available at the end of the year. They want him at 100% at the end of the year, not wore down and working through an ankle injury and working through a groin. And I think they're trying to make that as also at the front of this.
Yeah. I don't have a big problem with the way the running back room has been managed so far this year. And like in that game, the running game could not be a big focus because you have Vita Vea in the middle there. You don't want to keep testing that over and over and over again. So we had success, more success than I would have thought. But I don't think that means you keep plugging away at Vita Vea when you're, by the way, the interior of this offensive line has kind of disintegrated over the past couple of weeks too. So I get it.
Yeah, no, I understand totally on that. So I'd love to see more of Walker. I just think they're worried about that part of it, Talt. And with the Milrow, you can hear with me and Brendan that, we absolutely are done with the packages on this. It just sit the guy on the bench. Let's see where we're at 2 years down the line. Maybe come back to it next year, maybe. But again, if the offense is operating at one of the more efficient levels that we're seeing in the sport a little bit, not as much a need to have to call upon all the guns at that point.
Right.
Let it roll a little bit. Let's and Talt, I see we got another dono from you here. It's a good time though to thank the sponsor of the show here for Brendan and my perspective. Brendan and me are both being sponsored right now. Actually, sorry, 1 second here. Let me get my stuff right. We're being sponsored here by Sleeper. Sleeper is the app rolling and going here as I can try to get my thing right. Boom.
All right. Very
It's
nice.
It's a process, Brendan.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Window. Boom. All right. Well, Sleeper is right now sponsoring both Brendan and I. We're having actually a code off right now. So you can use both our codes, one of our codes, either of our codes. My code is NEST. His is SBN. And when you use those codes on your first deposit, you get matched up to 100% of $100. So $100 from me and Brendan to you, and you support the show at the very same time. Brendan, you know what we call that in my game?
A win-win.
Win-win-win. It's a 3-win.
Yeah.
The sponsor wins as well on this one. So
Yeah.
it's a 3-man win on this one. We've got they've got great little $20 picks. They just thrown into a free $20 pick in there. They've got promos running constantly. It's the number one sports app out there as far as for these kind of picks go. Daily fantasy, get in the over, get in the unders. Brendan, let's try to see if we got some picks here set up here for the Jaguar game. It might be a little bit early on this one, though it shouldn't be. They should have these in by now, shouldn't they?
Yeah, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Like last week, they had very few lines until right like the day before. But I believe they should have at least some picks that we can use for some of these games.
Yeah, let's do the Thursday. Let's do the Thursday night here. Giants Eagles tonight. I'm gonna. Ooh, you like AJ Brown at 51.5 yards over?
Well, if he doesn't get that, he's probably going to ask for a trade. So I think Philly's kind of obligated.
All right. And I'm going to go with Barkley for the anytime touchdown against his old team. That just feels right, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like that. Give me the under on the Jackson Dart passing yards. He runs too much. No, give me the under. Yeah, under. Yeah. There we go.
Under on Jackson Dart. And then
let's see here.
Oh, come on. We got to take this one. It's not in the Giants game, but this is too easy.
Ooh, okay, yes, Arizona. All right, bury them.
All right, bury them. Bury Arizona. So this is a 5.98. We got some promotions available if we want. Do we want to use, we got 25% here for Major League Baseball, 30% boost here. What promotion blocked on this ticket? It's got to be a certain kind of ticket.
Because the AJ Brown one's the pick on sale, you can't use
that's
that
right.
promo.
We got the pick on sale. So we already got to use the promo on this one. You get $5 down here. That'd get 5.98 as a return if this one were to hit. I think that's a pretty juicy ticket on that side of it. Mm-hmm. But Sleeper is an awesome app right now. Enjoy sports the way that's meant to be enjoyed together. Get in these daily as your fantasy, blown out. We'll get into a weekly fantasy so you can recoup a little bit of that pride and also make a little bit of money at the same time going head to head with folks, or take the over and unders, which is what I love to do. But a big, big thank you to Sleeper for sponsoring both Brendan and I this year, as they've been so kind to do so. And again, you can use either code SBN or you can use mine, NEST Nest, on Sleeper app. Download it today and go and win yourself some moolah.
Yep, do it for the people.
For the people.
Mm-hmm. Now, if Arizona allows a touchdown to Jonathan Taylor, who is Jonathan Gannon going to punch on the sideline?
I know. Can I say, though, I had no problem with hashtag Jonathan Gannon did nothing wrong.
Yeah, I agree. Justified crash out.
I feel like we've got to come up with something like tar and feathering a player if they do this again. It's an automatic, we just have a guy with tar and feathering over on the sideline. Sorry, man. This is how it's going now. Here's some feathers. Some kind of corporal punishment. I'm just advocating for something at this point because it's almost becoming an epidemic of an issue, Brendan. And I don't understand it.
Yeah. Well,
I don't get it.
You're a little older than me. Maybe you can help me out here. I do not remember players doing that ever before Deshaun Jackson did it.
Yep.
Like Deshaun Jackson did it and opened up this parallel universe where this happens like 10 times a year. It feels
He
like
broke the cherry. He broke the cherry, Brendan.
Yeah, but I don't remember it ever happening in the 90s or in the 2000s. Like, am I wrong? Am I not remembering?
No. And I think maybe just coincidentally, that's when you had coaches like, let's say, Bill Parcells. Do you imagine what Bill Parcells would have done if one of his players had done that? Like the least of your worries would have been in getting in your face and tapping your chest that you have pads on with, by the way. I just, it's a little bit of it was a soft moment for me. And the fact that he had to apologize, and the fact that they fined him. And it's like, in Arizona, that's why you are the organization you are. If I was the owner there would have never been any way I would have fined him. In fact, I probably would have went out and said, I support him 100% for doing that. I wish he would have hit him harder.
I would have given him an extension.
Exactly right. So I don't, it's a weird new issue that's popped up. Players didn't used to do it. I don't understand the thing. And the thing that would have the thing that people remember that with Gannon, Brennan, 2 weeks ago, we had a player do this 2 weeks ago. So he's been in a meeting at some point in the last 2 weeks. You know, this moment happened where he's standing up in front of them. They're playing the play from 2 weeks ago of a player doing this very same thing and saying, fellas, here's our yearly reminder. Here's our yearly, just to present this again. Do not do this. Hand it to the official. If you're not sure about it, walk all the way through the back of the end zone and then do your little throw the ball away move. Whatever you guys got to do in your mind to make this set, do not allow this to happen. And then a week later, it happens. I mean, I would have gone apoplectic as well. I would have lost my mind.
Yeah. I've sometimes I wonder if I were a head coach in the NFL, what coach would I be like? I think I would be like Tom Coughlin, just perpetually mad and yelling at my players.
I would, yep.
Because I can't handle this level of stupidity. Like I feel like you see it more now than you did before. You see players just do completely boneheaded things way more than you used to. And I think a lot of these coaches just kind of tolerate it. I think I'd be one of the ones that is just like, I look like my face will look like Mars because it'll be so red all the time from all the yelling I'm doing.
The greatest coaches I've seen in my life have been wired this way. And we're in that new age place, to your point on that, where it's like new age now, new way of dealing with players, soft, gentle. Don't be too hard on them. Don't be too toxic in your approach with them. And I'm of the old school still thing where I think the old ways still do work tremendously on this one. And sometimes to get a guy to wake up, you got to chew his ass out to get him to realize what's going on. And it doesn't just take it, know when you can, give the guy a hug and know when he needs to a slap on the ass and like get this in gear. And I think that I would be exactly that kind of coach like you would too as well. And then I'd be on them 24/7 with this type of stuff. I'm not going to put up with stupidity. There's stuff that you put up with. The old thing with Mike Holmgren where it's like, look, I can put up with heat of the moment things, mental errors, things that show a lack of preparation, things that show a lack of being engaged in the moment. That's the stuff where I am not going to be able to have any patience for that. That's where you've got to take care of your P's. You're a professional. Handle that. And it's just stupid. It's so stupid that this is a problem and a thing. Thank God we haven't done it.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be our time in the barrel one day, probably, though.
At this rate, man, it's going to happen 4 times a year. Tall with another $2 donation. Thank you for that, Tall. All your support today. Says, yo, Samity Sam is the man. I had doubts, but I love him. Indeed. Yeah. Indeed. Looking good on this one. I told you, Brendan, with it. I said he's going to do it this year. It's going to happen. What I saw in training camp, all of it playing out to hold the true on that,
Yeah, he looks like a franchise quarterback, and we're still 3-2. So it's like, if you had told me Sam Darnold was going to play like a franchise quarterback, I would have said we're starting 5-0.
I would have said, yeah, I would be right there with you. 100%, man. It's wild that he's at this place and that we're not, injected as we are. But it is a really worth noting, as there are some stuff that's a little tough that we have to turn over in the stream a bit. I think it's worth noting on the really, not just a small positive, but a really amazing positivity. Because even though I was high on Sam, Brennan, I didn't see this. Okay, I didn't see this coming. And to have a guy now at 28 years old who looks like he's heading into the prime of his career, that has it figured out, that is realizing his top 3 overall selection in the first round talent, that this is a thing that for the Seattle Seahawks moving in the future cannot be undersold for how much this is a sea change like situation of a change as far as bettering this organization and putting them in a place to really be able to go hit that contending status here. Even if it can't be this year, it's coming in a big way because of what Sam's doing in his development here.
Yeah, I hope that's true. I hope that's true. I mean, like I said earlier in the show, the Seahawks have made a little bit of a tradition of having high-level quarterback play and still not building a contender around it. I mean, how many years did Russell Wilson flirt with the MVP and the team still couldn't break through? You know, it's getting old. It's getting old.
It really is. And if you do kind of wait to serve, you don't get through this year. Hopefully, John understands. Okay, now you haven't been super aggro aggressive the past couple of years. You've been patient. You've gone through dead money off the books of guys like Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Draymond Jones, DK Metcalf, Geno Smith, Tyler Lockett. You've had to bury off all this dead money. Okay, you're through the other end of it now. You've cleared that out. You're in a position to be aggressive. You're in a position to really, top this whole thing off across the board in a major way. Hopefully he starts to take those steps this off season at that point and can feel that he can do so because he doesn't have that quarterback situation dangling over his head 2 years. Well, a year from now, I got to still have all these assets so I can go do this and go do that to find the QB. Well, now that's off the table. That's maybe removed. And now you can just lock and flow and go with the rest of the roster here as we move into the future on this. So a huge development, Sam playing like he has, and wonderful to see for our Seahawks, both in the here and now and the future.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Brandon's got a great, I like this here from Brandon again on your side. Appreciate all the support today, Brandon. If someone offered a third for Milroe right now, which won't happen, you taking it and moving on? It's still early, but the Milroe experiment looks rough.
I'd take a sixth for him.
Oh, whoa.
Just get him off the team.
Brendan full six.
Kubiak can't resist the siren call, so you just have to take him off the boat.
He's getting drawn to those rocky shoals, huh?
Mm-hmm.
He can't help to just turn the wheel into those shoals. They sound so pretty. They're so pretty sounding. Yeah. Yes, I would, Brandon. But again, you're speaking to two guys, and Brendan and me, that were among some of the few out there in the Seahawks fandom, be it the content creators or any of the other people out there. We were one of the few people, I think, out there that were very ardently not on board with the Milroe thing at the time of the selection. So each of us have to, admit to a little bit of confirmation bias here on our side of it, in all fairness, and saying, look, we've seen more that has confirmed more of kind of what was our worry with Milroe being taken in the first place. I'm still ultimately, when you watch Sam Darnold executing this offense, back foot, decisions, progress through reads, back foot, bang, on time, to the spot, feeling pressure, moving through the pocket. These are all things that are not really a part of Jalen Milroe's game. He's not a pocket feeler. He's not an on-time back foot, hits it. He's not a defensive reader. Now, maybe he becomes this 3 years down the line, maybe, and certainly Sam in his first year wasn't that as well. So he's not the finished product here, but Sam's told me that this is the guy that should be here for the year now and for probably the next 4 to 5 years in the way that this is setting up as a bare minimum. And that means that you're going to be outside of Milroe's rookie contract. You're not going to be, really probably be calling upon him. And again, I just don't have a lot of faith in how he will execute this offense when you do call upon him, because I don't see a tremendous amount of forward step from him in that Green Bay Packer preseason game or what we've seen in general from him. He's improved on some of the mechanical stuff, but he just seems so far away.
Yeah, and I think we're at the point now where, and look, we got plenty more time to make this call, but Darnold might end up being our quarterback for the next 5-6 years. Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, then what is Milroe going to do other than just leave in a couple years when his rookie deal is up?
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, the answer is nothing. Or you trade him for it'll be like Milroe in a 7th for a 6th or something like that at some point just to get him off the team. So yeah, if somebody came around and said, I'll give you a actual asset for Milroe, I don't know why you wouldn't jump on that.
Yeah. I'd be on board with that. And again, this is the stuff that's preloaded on this, where me and Brendan did a lot of and people I think kind of didn't give us as much credit for this, despite the fact that we covered it on separate shows leading up to the draft, and that we talked about it endlessly before the pick. It wasn't something where Milroe became the pick and then here's our opinion on this player. It's that we had given very elaborate reasons for our outlook on Jalen and where we saw him being, and that we had both looked at game after game of this kid, and not just for 1 year, but multiple years I'd been scouting him prior to him coming out. And so kind of is what it is there with that situation. We'll see. I don't think that they're looking at moving him. They are going to hold him. They're going to commit to this plan. And there is still a chance 2 years from now that he just works his butt off and finds some development on this side of it. We're seeing quarterbacks across the sport right now, quarterbacks looked very rough in their initial spots, who have turned into completely different players here down the line. Now, some of these guys, Brendan, I'd argue take more than the 2 and the 3 years to get there. 5 5-6 might be more of the kind of, penis. That might be
I
more of
mean,
your place on it, but they do get there.
including Sam Darnold, maybe. He
Yeah.
took 5-6 years.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. Sam, Baker. Maybe that's the other thing with this is it ain't going to come a B in 3 years. It's more of, well, down the line it'll be there, and that's like Brennan just said. By that point, you're probably moving off of him. At that, if that realization occurs at that point, but they're going to hold on to him here, Brandon. It's a great. I like the question. I think it's a good one because you never know with a team getting maybe you guys Cincinnati out there right now and desperate that there might be a team out there for a quarterback desperate that's willing to jump, but. Outside of that, I don't think you're probably seeing him moved.
Right.
Tall33, thank you for the $2 donation. All of you have been so kind today over on Brandon's side. Says crazy our defense can be cooked incoming bye week.
Yeah, that bye week coming in is going to be pretty nice. I'm going to appreciate that. Because it does seem like these injuries right now, and I don't know if there's anybody to blame. I know people like to put this stuff on the head athletic trainer, but I don't know.
Ivan the Terrible.
One of 2 holdovers from the Pete Carroll era. But it does seem like these guys take a while to get back compared to other teams. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like things just linger forever.
It's going to be interesting to see here with Ivan, and he's been here. I think he's had some good year, and then some years have gone. It's like Jason Myers at times, the injury stuff, but it does feel like that we're losing as many games to injuries as much as anybody. It just seems like it's an NFL problem too. So it's all out there and all over the place. And I know you got your injuries on the edge and you got your injuries in the secondary, but I'm also going to be watching this very closely. And that Mike came out here and gave us 10 wins last year, and the defense was improved. And the defense started out improved this year. It started out improved against really lesser competition. Saints team out there, San Francisco team with no other top receivers, no George Kittle through most of that football game. Brock Purdy operating kind of probably injured through a lot of that game.
Right.
So I'm in a little bit more of a place where I think I've, up until this point, Brendan given sort of Mike McDonald the benefit of the doubt on him being this defensive mind that can do this, the stops in Michigan, the stops in Baltimore, first year and what he did with us last year. But I'm going to be looking for some things from him here as we go through this year beyond the results of us getting the playoffs or being super successful or turning into a contender. I want to see from you this defense and the effect of you defensively here. We went left when everybody else goes rights with offensive-minded coaches. We went with the defensive-minded coach. I kind of want to start to feel a bit of the benefits of that and your ability to set these players up for success on the field rather than standing back a little bit like Coach Carroll would there and saying, well, get it done, boys. I don't got a lot of schematic answers for you here. Go get it done. Oh, you didn't get it done. I guess we failed. I don't want that simplistic approach here as we go through the rest of the season defensively. And that's how it felt last week in the Tampa Bay Buccaneer game.
Right. And, I guess the silver lining is that Mike took accountability for it after that game was over, which I don't think Pete would have done. I think Pete would have blamed the players because that's what he started to do at the end of his tenure here. So at least he knows, but what will he do with that knowledge? We'll find out over the next few weeks.
Indeed. Appreciate you though, Talt. We'll see if they can maintain and hold the line there to the bye, but that bye is coming in, like Brendan said, really nice time. We thought it would at week 10. It's perfect time for a bye. Brent Endo, thank you for the $2 donation. You guys think Kubiak would take a head coaching job?
I'm sure he would want it. I don't know why you wouldn't want it, but let's talk about the potential openings this offseason. Okay, so Miami, right?
Right.
I think McDaniel's done.
I agree.
Do you think Zach Taylor's safe because Burrow got hurt?
Hard to say on that one. Because I think they loaded up a lot of this year, but it's again too, or do they put some of the blame on him getting hurt? Does that factor in? Did they say, well, we didn't build up a line good enough to get the job? It's murky on that one, I'd say.
Yeah, I think Harbaugh's done.
Harbaugh sounds like he's done. Yeah. That's not drifting in a good direction this year for them.
It's getting very Pete Carroll-y over there. Although Pete Carroll never bottomed out, like it looks like the Ravens will bottom out this year. Yeah,
it does. And maybe that'll benefit us. We'll get Orr in the long term on this, maybe on the staff.
What about Stefanski? I really like Stefanski, but the proof is in the pudding at a certain point. That's a tough one.
That's really hard because you just come back to Stefanski. If I'm an owner there and I'm saying, what have I given him at quarterback? What have I given him? I walked into there with Joe Flacco. I walked in this year with Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel. Like, what coach is going to win in that? If I'm going to be hard on Stefanski, I'd then have to say there's a coach out there who could have come in here and made this successful. And I don't know how they say that. It's possible, but I just think you're in a position of going, we have to eat this a little bit on our end of it.
Yeah. Every Titans fan I know wants Callahan out of there. They
Yeah,
think he's
he's out.
incompetent. Yeah.
He's out.
Nobody in the AFC West. Daboll's out, almost certainly. No way Daboll survives.
I would not think so.
Is that it? That might be.
Carolina's a possibility, but
Yeah,
kind of a TBD. And in Arizona with Gannon.
Maybe. So maybe a few more openings than I was initially thinking, but still not a ton. Sounds like Belichick's going to get bought out in North Carolina. Do you think anybody will jump on that one?
No, especially with Carroll. I think people look at Carroll and Belichick a little bit, whether it's fair or not, and say, well, Carroll's not having success there. I think that's going to impact that a little bit, just on, the wonder with both those two guys in their age is that have they gotten a little too old on that? I'm not saying that Carroll has. I'm just thinking that this is where teams are going to be considering that when bringing in Belichick, and it was been such a tough end with the Patriots there, especially once you lost Brady. And this has been an awful year with North Carolina. I thought partly he went there because he didn't like the opportunities he was looking at here in the NFL. I think he's just more of a guy who's going to go and be a telecast commentator guy when it's well said and over.
I think one of these teams will hire Mike McCarthy. I think that's a guy who's going to get another shot here because he did have a decent amount of success in Dallas, and I think that he is well liked around the league. Other than that, though, Kubiak would be in the conversation, I think, for any of those other openings we just discussed. So it's not out of the question.
Yeah, I think it's definitely in play, Brent. To Brendan's point on this, there's just not a lot of really prime coaching candidates on the open market that are really hot candidates, and it's going to come back to OCs really leading the way on this, and we've seen that already here in recent years with the hires of head coaches. And so it's the downside of having a guy perform really well at his job is that he's got there's a very good chance he goes and takes that opportunity the first chance it presents itself. Like the job almost doesn't matter, just a job that wants you go, and that's just the way it kind of works in the system. So. Downside having a good head, good OC, but it's just also the nature of the beast. Bronze Sausage, thank you for the $5 donation. Bronze, I got to keep my expectations in check. Jags are pretty hot right now. 23-17. Go Hawks. You guys are great. Well, thank you for that, Bronze Sausage. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I think this is the time to keep your expectations in check a little bit for a couple different reasons.
I do too. And hopefully it's in a place that's got a nuanced position from Seahawks fans. I know this way with Brendan, or I won't speak for you, Brendan. I'll let you confirm this or not. But my stance on this, and I think it does get lost when we sometimes have to turn over the negative items that exist within the positive, is that this team is on the right track, that this team is heading towards contending status. And we're all impatient to get there, but they are moving in that right direction. Is there more work to be done? There is, but they're getting so many decisions right and stacking those decisions up that I do think it's a matter of time. And again, I said this offseason, you can confirm this right now, Brennan. We're taking the one step back to take the two steps forward. And that's what was happening with the Geno, the DK, the moving on from an OC. You were going to have to kind of do just a soft reset. And that within that then meant that if it was not going to be super amazing this year in 2025 out the gate, that wasn't the biggest surprise. And you could still roll with those punches and understanding that the greater plan in place is a smart plan and it's taking us to the right section of things. Is this a place that you find yourself fitting into as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think that it's fair to be frustrated that the team didn't break through this year. It looks like they're just kind of okay again, because there are some things going on here that are great that are being wasted to a certain extent. But I think that you were correct, still overall kind of correct in the offseason when you were talking about that one step back to take two steps forward later, although kind of feels like we took one step back and then immediately took that one step forward again. It feels very similar to last year's team to me overall. So
yeah,
I mean, it's the same effect at the end of the way. If we can go into next season and not have dead cap the way we did the last couple years, then great.
And that's it right there. You're hitting the nail on the head where you're moving into next offseason. You've got your draft pick full allotment there. You've got your quarterback in reserve. You're really not going to lose any. I mean, at this point, the biggest free agent loss that you're pretty much looking at probably having is maybe Kenneth Walker, and you can always franchise him if you really need to at the running back position. If it's all said, you're rolling over the $25 million of cap space we're sitting on right now. That goes into next year's cap. So you're just sitting on a ton of cap space at that point, probably top 3 in the sport as it stands at that point. To me, that just lines everything up for now's the time to strike. Here's where you jump. Not when you're kind of behind a little bit, you're a little in debt to your eyeballs, like we are a little bit here with this dead money. So we are moving the right place. More work to be done, but it's in that right stage, even if this year isn't the year that this all just locks in and we take off and all that. Since Braun put it in here, let's do the we got a couple more donations. Let's do some predictions here since he put in there with his 23-17. How do you see this game going as far as the final score goes in this one?
I'm going to go Jacksonville 30, Seahawks 24. I'm just not feeling it.
What'd you say on that again?
Jacksonville 30, Seattle 24.
Okay, there we go. You're in about the same place as I'm 27-24 Jacksonville. I think that the defense is just going to struggle to find enough answers there against that Jacksonville team. And that your offense will still be able to move the ball, but it's a little bit like last week where it's just you have to score so damn much to make it happen that it's too far to go essentially at that point a little bit, just a little too far.
Yeah. Again, what I'm really hoping for is Jacksonville to come out flat because they just won on Monday night against Kansas City. And that can happen. That happens all the time in this league, but that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Short week, and short weeks are even one day removed can make a little bit of a difference on a team with the soreness and getting yourself back to be prepared to go and, play a football game. So yeah, it'll be a close one, I do think. So it's not going to be where they run away with it. It'll be coming down the line. But yeah, I think playing on the road 10 a.m. like this is just a tough time. And again, this Jacksonville matchup with the way they play defense and offense for the way we play defense and offense. That's the other part of this that just doesn't always, when I looked at some of these numbers in this, Brendan, pressure rate, time to throw, the low stuff rate, on the runs. So just, everything just doesn't quite fit up when you look at some of the stats on this one running through, from offense to defense on how they play it. But we got our chance. Here. Oh, 1 second here, Tall. I got HHG with a $5 donation. Thank you for that, HHG. You put in Milrow when you're up by 50 and it's 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That'd be a good time. I'm okay then at that point. I don't think he can do enough damage there to harm us there.
Yeah. I almost wonder if you're going to put him in the game, maybe line him up at receiver and actually have him run like play as a receiver for a play. I think I'd like that better than what we're doing right now, honestly.
Yeah, I think anything other than just lining him up at quarterback to know that he's going to just run with the ball after he gets the snap, which that's what you're telegraphing right now from a mile away. And it's part of the reason that teams are stopping it is it's very, very easy to see.
Yeah,
so I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Isn't there like a kind of like an unofficial rule where like you don't ask a guy to throw a pitch when he's cold off the bench?
There should be. I mean, it should be a rule. I don't. You don't want to ask guys to do that, but that's again where this whole thing with Milrow has been kind of counterintuitive, in that it doesn't make a lot of sense when you add it all up as to what the reasoning is, outside of it being that you're trying to get something out of the third round pick that you made. You're trying to get something out of that day 2 pick. You don't want to just have it sit on the bench all year and just sort of waste it away. And so you're drawn to do that, but that's not a good process for bringing him onto the field. It's not the right process to bring him on the field. And
not when Darnold is playing this good.
Yeah, not when he's playing this good. Let him roll. Let him keep, chances are he's going to be more deadly in what he's doing than whatever you think Miller's going to get down on an individual play. Average yard per attempt and all that stuff. He ain't just dink and dunking here. He's making big throws down the field, ripping plays down 20, 30 yards. So let him keep going,
Absolutely.
Tall, so kind today with so many donations, and really appreciate that here on your side of it. Says, thanks for your take, BNB, but I disagree. Because we missed the playoffs 2 years in a row, we made it last time because the Lions won a meaningless game. We need all our stars balling out. Can't be too cautious to win.
I'm not sure what he's disagreeing with that we said, though. What did we say that was contrary to this? I'm not sure. I'm a little confused.
Yeah, and if you want, because you dropped a bunch of donos here on the channel today, Tall. If you can just put in maybe in the comment section on what you mean, on which stars you're thinking are balling out that we're not out there. So I'm definitely not advocating for cautiousness at all. On my side in this game, I think you let everything, like we're saying on defense, like don't just sit back in zone, don't just kind of hold back in there, let it roll, let it rip, and offensively keep kind of doing what you're doing a little bit. You're going to be balanced, but I'll look in the comments if you can just put in there what you kind of mean by that. I'm not quite sure on that one. I thank you for the $10 donation.
Yes, absolutely.
Keep an eye on it here to see if you pop up. You don't have to donate, just put a comment down there and I'll read what you mean by that. Thank you, though, man, for all of your support today. Really, really appreciate it. I'd rather be flying an X-Wing. Thank you for the $5 donation. Big picture. Playoffs this year, but our Super Bowl window opens 2026. Both sides have at least 1 year in a system and an off season to add pieces in depth.
Hopefully we can get this stuff right. Hopefully we can get the next off season right. I still feel like we should be a little bit better than we are right now based on the fact that we have a quarterback playing at such a high level. I think that years where you have a quarterback playing like this, it's such a waste to not capitalize on it. But I can get behind this as a general statement.
Yeah, it's where I find myself standing, I think, a little bit more ardently than maybe Brendan does. I agree with him on having a quarterback play like this and kind of just like it gets just sort of wasted to the wind. It does suck. But it's also, you knew that this team where it was at, that there were some things that were going to maybe be still needing to be rounded out. What you do at the wide receiver position, where running back goes long term. Obviously, center and right guard still need to be stabilized on this offensive line in the long term. Secondary wise, I think things are still very open ended on that as far as what the secondary is going to look like a year from now versus what it might look like right now. And so I think that there's stuff to kind of still be done here to get this thing rounded out. I agree with you though, and how you're putting it here, in that it is. I'd rather be flying X-Wing, and that's when it opens to me. 26 opens, and that, look, John can get mistakes wrong, and that he still has to get the decisions right on how he spends the money. But he's been operating, let's remember here, for these past 3 years from a standpoint of always being behind the ball with the dead money. Russell Wilson year, dead money. Jamal Adams, Quandary Diggs year, dead money. DK Metcalf, Draymond Jones, Tyler Lockett, Geno Smith, more dead money than ever right now this year over these 3-year period than any other individual year. Now you get next year where not only does he have the full allotment of his cap space right now sitting top 7, but then he's also going to be able to potentially wind over $25 million into that cap in addition to that, on top of having all your picks. And so even if somebody might say to us, Brendan, well, you won't have the free agents to go out there and sign those guys in free agency. Well, then you can go make a maybe Max Crosby trade though, can't you? Now you can go bring on that salary like it ain't no thing but a chicken wing on a string. And so I'm very much thinking he's going to land this one into this next offseason, because it would be so hard to kind of fail at it. Whereas maybe if you call things a little bit of a slight, I don't even call it a failure the past couple of years, but not getting to that maximized point, you could always kind of point back to a little bit of, hey, 1/5 of your cap got blown out the window to nothing. It's kind of hard to win in that way when that's going to be the case.
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea. It's just, I cannot help but be frustrated by the fact that over and over again, this team gets high level quarterback play and doesn't win with it. So it's just one of those things where I'm tired of it, but you're absolutely right with everything you say. I'm not disagreeing with anything you say.
And I can understand your frustration. How many teams, like you said earlier, are sitting there for decades on end, your Chicago type teams, they can't find a quarterback for their life. And we flicked out one for the other here over the last few years, and still can't really maximize that.
Like I asked this question in my Discord server the other day. If the Cleveland Browns over the last 10 years had the level of quarterback play that we have had, how many Super Bowls do they win? Like 3? They have this incredible defense. They had that great running game with Nick Chubb, big offensive line, Stefanski, 2-time coach of the year. Like they're piling Super Bowls at that point, right?
It certainly would be one of those. I could see it happening. I'll say that being the factor that allows them to go over the top on that, because that's been what's been missing there for them with just decades there. Tull was able to clarify for us a little bit. I think I know what he means on this now. Says, I just don't want to lose too many games not using our best guys to get the job done. Sometimes when the guy got even, it's Zach, K9, Cup, JSN, even Horton. So I think it's a little bit reference as much to the K9 thing that we're talking about with the load balancing and going a little bit between that. And so I think what Talt's sort of saying, if I can speak for you, Talt, is that, okay, K9's got the injury issues, but at the end of the day, you got to ride in with your best horses if you're struggling to win football games, and you got to lean on those things. And that's, you got to take that risk a little bit on that injury front. I think that's a fair point. I wouldn't push back on any of that. I'm not as much saying even that I need to put K9 on ice. It's just more of just an explanation for what I think the coaching staff's thinking about on this, why their process has driven them to this place of being very firmly on, hey, maybe not 50-50, but it'll be 55-45 on the carry split between K9 and Zach a little bit.
Yeah. And there is, I guess, some logic to the idea of, well, we're not going to have K9 next year anyway, so ride him into the ground while you can. Like, I know it's cold-blooded, but that is how NFL teams operate.
It is for sure. Certainly how Shanahan's operated with McCaffrey, man. That guy's not going to have any feet left when he's done with him. They're using him so much. So I get where you're coming from on it completely there, Tolt. I think there's certainly a firm argument to be made on that of just riding with him. Contract year he's in. He's trying to earn his money too. Maybe one of those injuries he's on the line of that he wouldn't have played last 2 years. He's going to play because he's trying to go get that money. So, we'll see on that. But fair point. Fair point. Thank you for the clarification. Got another donation here from Outdoors for Life. Thank you for the $2 dono. Did I miss something? You think Seattle loses? Why?
I just don't like the matchup right now. We don't have like 70% of our pass defenses out for this game, probably, or at least possibly. Spoon, Woolen, Love, Lawrence, Hall, like that's the core of the defense in many ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're missing these guys defensively. Outdoors for Life, and you're going to be playing the exact same offense that just shredded you apart last week. There's more talent probably on this offense this week than what you faced with the Buccaneers last week at home. And so it's a struggle, I think, for me and Brendan's position here to believe that you're going to do better somehow against this offense this week on the road in that way, still missing those bodies that you were missing last week. And Mike just didn't seem to have any answers that he could drop schematically to overcome those losses. He just kind of threw up his hands and said, okay, we're going to drop in his zone and run front four pressure. And then the front four pressure didn't get there and the quarterback could eventually find an opening. And I don't know how that changes that much. Again, Outdoors for Life understanding that Cohen came from Tampa Bay. So he's running that same offense with the pre-snap motion-based stuff that gave us fits and helped them self-identify where the player to go post-snap, and usually very easily at that. That same stuff is going to be at play here today. Defensively speaking, Outdoors for Life, they're not going to stack the boxes up like the past couple of opponents are. They're going to stay with the front four. They're going to drop 7 into coverage. So a lot of the success the offense has been able to have, and Darnold especially, by beating stacked boxes and slaughtering the blitz when you throw it at him, he's not going to get that as a counter to this now on the other side of that necessarily. It's going to be a little bit harder necessarily for the offense to get rolling. And on top of the fact that we still don't know consistently at where is the run game at? Can it run week in and week out? Is it going to be like, well, we get it this week, but next week we're not going to get it, but then the next week after that, it'll be there? It kind of comes and goes a little bit. And the stuff rate and the amount of just no yard plays or negative plays we get in the run game, too much. Putting Darnold too often in positions of having to get 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9s to convert those in order to keep the chains moving. I think I just add all that up together and I go, that's just a hard way to get the win for us at that point. Outdoors for Life. I think it's a close game, 27-24. Brendan's got a close game as well, but just too many injuries, bad opponent matchup here for this opponent. A guy in Trevor Lawrence. Let me throw another thing at you, Outdoor for Life. I mentioned this earlier. You have a guy in Trevor Lawrence who's doing as good a job, I think 2.67 seconds. He's getting the ball out of his hands. So he's not allowing the pressure to get there. Your pressure, when it's tended to get there this year, has tended to take a lot of time to get there. We don't get a lot of quick pressure from this front four, partly because we don't blitz, partly because we're not stacking the box, partly because we're not making these offenses uncomfortable because we're just hoping the front four is going to get it done. But I throw that all into the mixture in my mind on this one, Outdoor for Life, and it's a struggle to quite find the dub in that one.
Mm-hmm. Again, I think the best thing we have going for us is that Jacksonville just won a big game on Monday night. That's the best thing. They might be a little bit, that whole trap game thing. That's probably the best argument you can make.
Yeah. It's a valid one. It's worth something a little bit, but is it enough to overcome all that other stuff? Yeah, we'll just have to see on that front of it. Ooh, big old shout out here. Let me get my applause button up for this one. We gotta get the applause out. $50 donation. Thank you so much to Bryce Coots of the Hawk's Eye. And if you're not, please do get yourself subbed up to the Hawk's Eye here on YouTube. Bryce Coots with his new channel, former of the Hawks Zone. And I just want to announce tonight's a good time too as well. Thank you for that $50 dono, Bryce. But tonight on the members channel, so if you're a member, we're going to be doing the live stream on Thursday Night Football. And I'm having Bryce come in to help me out. I'm going to be doing the play-by-play. He's going to be my color guy tonight for Thursday Night Football for members of the channel. So if you're a member, keep an eye on your community post. You can get a link to that. Bryce is also going to be joining me on Monday night next week with the Texans and help me call the game on the play-by-play stuff.
He's got to be better than Chris Collinsworth, right? So
absolutely. He knows his stuff, and he'll be able to provide some great insights. Looking forward to being able to do that with him here tonight. Thank you, Bryce. Tremendous of you to drop that big old fat donation on. And again, folks, please, get sub up to Hawk's Eye. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, and he puts out some really great content. You want to keep an eye on this guy as he's doing some great stuff.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't spend 3 hours talking about how great Drake May is, he's ahead of the game.
There you go.
I like Drake May too, though, but that was an interesting glaze session from Collinsworth on Sunday night.
Yeah, I mean, Collins is definitely getting to that place where the it's almost getting a little overcooked, I think, where he had a real place where he was really pretty good for a few years there, but all telecasters, you start to, things pass you by a little bit. It starts to feel like things start to maybe slide past him on this one a little bit. And
Al Michaels, man, I'm as big an Al Michaels fan as there is, but he's getting there too. Romo isn't as good as he used to be. I think Brady's terrible. Like, it's not a good time for commentators.
It really isn't. It's part of the reason I do what I do on my Sundays with the play-by-play, is I feel like that there's an opportunity, if you can keep getting better at it, for people to have something more of what they're looking for, rather than, like you say, the glaze sessions, or you're coming at it with just some of the broadcasts and the way that they present it now, I think is unimaginative, and it's kind of boring, and it doesn't really get to stuff that could make the game much more richer if they concentrate on better stuff. They want to get on like human stories and things like, come on, let's just get to the game on this. But you are the man. Bryce, thank you for the $50 donation drop, brother. You are awesome. I look forward tonight to hooking up with you, and let's kill it on this broadcast tonight. All right, let's kill it. I'll
check that out. I'm a member, so I know check that out.
I'm a member of you too. I'm maybe one of your longest members. I got.
You're up there. You're up there.
I gotta be one of the longer ones. Appreciate you, Bryce, man. See you tonight, brother. Roy Frolic, thank you for the $10 donation, Roy, over on your side. I like Bobo, but that holding call. Sheesh.
Yeah, Bobo's not doing a lot to advocate for keeping him around after this year. And I think his contract is up after this year anyway. But last 2 years really been a struggle for him to make meaningful contributions.
Yeah, I think it stands out too with him on that is he didn't have to do the hold. It's one of those plays where all you got to do is really just get in front of the guy, and then that's going to give your quarterback enough time to get out in space away from him. And he just panicked and ripped him in. And I don't know why there you panic and do that anyway, because it's just, you're out there in the open. You're not in the pile of bodies around the line of scrimmage. You're out there in space. It's going to look very obvious at that point that you're doing the naughty. You're on the naughty list there, and he got called for it, and you could see in the moment, before the pass was even out of the guy's hand, I went, that's hold on Bobo. That's obvious. He hooked him. So
yeah, first game this year where penalties were a big problem, and they were a big problem.
They were. The first half, I don't know about some of those calls in the first half, Brendan.
Well, I'm trying to think about it.
It got better as the game went along, but there was a couple in there that I was kind of like, I'm trying to think of which ones they were down. I'm spacing.
Well, a lot of people were upset about the Byron Murphy roughing, but you go low on the quarterback, you're going to get it every time. That's just the way the league works right now. It sucks, but
it's not. I will say it doesn't go every time. I've seen it not get called every time. It especially on the play like that where he's running a guy over and the guy basically falls and sort of taking the chair out from under him. He's not diving at the quarterback's ankles. He's running that guy over, and as that guy's falling backwards, he's falling then because the guy basically gives out his pressure, gives out all of that was there, and then he's trying to grab his legs. I think the rule was set up for a guy not to dive at the legs of the quarterback. That was the purpose of the rule. So that was one that I actually did have an issue with. That was one of the ones that I thought was a little bit out of pocket there. But it does get called a lot. I'll give you that. And it's one of those arbitrary calls that, depending on the official you check with, is depending on the one that is there.
I think it's one of those circumstances where the league just goes, yes, we know this is unfair for the defender. Deal with it. We're going to protect our quarterbacks. And I can be annoyed by that, but I understand how it works the way it works. I mean, Sam Darnold got a pretty soft roughing the passer call in that game as well, I think. I think that was like in the fourth too.
Yeah, it was bad in the first half, but the official came around to us, and I will say that there was probably a couple calls that second half that were to the benefit of us. But the first half, I remember there's a few calls in the first half where I was like, oh God, especially coming off that Cardinal game in the second half, where you're like, oh, here we go.
Right.
Lock in, folks. It's going to be a bumpy one. We're going to have some turbulence here, some referee turbulence. But thank you, Roy. Yeah, Bobo, let's see if we can get a little bit more from him. Made a good catch in the Cardinal game prior week, but you got out there to block, man. We need you to block and block well when you are called upon to do so. Well, I want to just one more thank you to the sponsor of the show, Sleeper. Sleeper's the app you can get right now. Number one sporting app in the business. Get the picks, over, under. Go get yourself locked in with some fantasy on a weekly basis. If you're out of your fantasy league, you can use my code or Brendan. We're having a code off. So when you use the code for the first time, either NEST or SBN, they'll match you up to 100% of your first deposit up to $100. So I know that in the past in Washington, this has been restricted. It's supposed to be fully opened up now to where you can use the app here in full and be able to lock it in, let loose, and have some fun. Go get into some contests today. Go win yourself some money. But a big thank you to Sleeper for sponsoring me and Brendan here throughout this season as they have, as it's very much appreciated. Thank you guys for watching today, too. If you can for me, hit the like button on either mine or Brendan's stream, wherever you be watching this from, on Seahawks Brendan Nelson or on the Hawks Nest. You can as well get subbed up, Seahawks Brendan. Get subbed up, the Hawks Nest. We do this show on a weekly basis. We'll be continuing throughout this year and into the off season, so you want to get subbed on up. I really appreciate you guys for watching today and hitting that like button. Brendan, thank you for doing this as well. It's always a good time.
Thank you for having me on.
Hope you do feel a little bit better on that. This is the season of colds, though. It goes in Washington, man. You know, you turn over from summer to fall, and it's right there where that cold is always like a stopwatch. You can time it. It's going to click in, and you're going to get a little sick. And it seems to always happen up there. It happened to me at least that way. So
usually, it happens.
Spring to fall. But you'll be bouncing back by this weekend, and let's see if the Mariners can go get us a win tomorrow. That'll make everybody feel a little bit better. Get on to the next round on that side. We will be back next week, folks, and hopefully able to report on a nice, tasty victory with the Monday night Texans game coming up, which would really help this team, I think, start to get a little bit more wind in the sails here as we build our way to that trade deadline, build our way to that bye week to really see where this team is standing and where they are headed. We got one last member joining on up here on my side. Thank you, Sean, for joining up as a member. And again, one last little note on that, Brendan. If you are a member of my channel tonight, we're going to be doing live play-by-play of the Thursday night game. I got Bryce Coots from Hawk's Eye coming into the house to help me do the color commentary on that. So please do join us. I will put that link again in the community post. I already got it out there in your community post. If you're a member, you can find that link right now, but I will post it again today before the start of the game so you guys can get in on that. But thank you for that, Sean. I appreciate you on that.
Thank you.
We will be back in less than 7 days here to give you guys an update on this team and what's going on and hopefully celebrating a victory. But until that time, look, me and Brendan are realists. We're not cynical. We're not glass half full, not glass half empty. We're aspiring to try to tell you just how full that cup is exactly, without biased eyes as much as we possibly can. We want to see this team take off, take flight. We want to see a contender. We absolutely do. You can hear it in Brendan's voice when he talks about wasting away great quarterback seasons because of other parts of the football team. But at the same point in time, I think you can also hear with us that we've got the true optimism in this team, that it's true where we're coming from and that we believe where this team's going. And we know the future is very, very bright. Whether it's 25 or whether it's 26, that is absolutely a certifiable fact. So whatever happens this year, we're going to ride with the ups and downs, but this thing's moving in the right direction, folks. So take heed, take heart in that, and know that your team's moving in the right direction. And please, by God, don't you ever forget, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.